And now, podcasting from the sun-scorched desert Southwest, weighing in at a combined total of 340 pounds, Brad Winchester, Tyler McDowell Blanken, are Gimmick Infringement.
Welcome, everybody, to the Gimmick Infringement Podcast. I am Brad Winchester, and with me, as always, is my tag team partner, Tyler McDowell Blanken. Tyler, it is Sunday, July 23rd. I had to look at the date so I didn't make the same mistake as last week. How you doing today?
It is the 23rd. I'm doing good, man. You and I had a really fantastic production meeting. Shout out to the whole production crew. I think we went about 2 hours and change. So good on us. I'm really excited about everything we're going to get into. But of course, first I want to hear how you're doing.
I'm doing great. We were just talking about summer blockbusters. This is one of the most loaded summers in recent memory. I don't remember a summer being this loaded with films in years, really. Once in a while we'll get a couple back-to-back blockbusters, but we got a Mission Impossible sequel, Indiana Jones, a Transformers movie. We got Oppenheimer, Barbie. There's so much happening. We had Fast X earlier in the summer.
That's right. We saw
Flash movie. All of these things sort of all at once, and more to come. We got Meg 2 coming out in like a week and change. It's the first week of August, probably coinciding with the end of Shark Week. There's just so much going on. I think it rules. Cinema's back, as I saw somebody say.
Yeah, and especially this past week, Brad, there was so much conversation on the timeline. Some thoughtful, some maybe not as much. I think we'll get into it later about Barbie and Oppenheimer. So just seeing people engage with cinema and talk about it. And mostly what I enjoyed was seeing people's excitement for it. Barbie seemed like an absolute event for a lot of moviegoers. People were dressing up for this thing, which I just had no idea the reach of this movie. I think the folks behind it were really brilliant in terms of advertising it and social media and TV partnerships. It was just everywhere. So yeah, I'm really glad that summer, like you said, the summer blockbuster season has really delivered. And the majority of movies I've seen, I've really enjoyed. Fast. I think you can go back in the GI vault to hear my thoughts on Fast. But yeah, just like you, man, I enjoy film. I enjoy cinema, and I think we've got a lot of great ones over the past few months.
Do you rank Fast X above or below Tokyo Drift?
Below, for sure. So okay. That's a super funny question. I actually really enjoed Tokyo Drift.
I did too. I thought it was better than the first one.
Yeah,
I didn't necessarily care for the first one all that much.
Wow. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was fine. That's what was cool. I thought there was some cool stuff in it, but I was like, all right, I got what I got out of it. And then suddenly they're spies. I don't know what's happening.
Dare I say,
they're just racing, and one was a cop. It was a sting operation, and then suddenly it's what's happening here?
I didn't know you had such big thoughts on this. This is interesting. I think Tokyo Drift is one that has aged better. I really enjoyed it. I think at the time it was really thought to be kind of a stinker, but it was not for me. I had a good experience with it.
Maybe that's how I feel about the first Fast. I think I probably went to Tokyo Drift because I liked the first one, but those movies don't always hold up super well. And I think I can't get over the hair in the clothes. That's the part I look at the first Fast. And I'm like, oh, this looks like
and it was
high school to me
for sure. And it was also a big change because that's when we had like Bow Wow and other people, and I forget the main actor, but this was not Paul Walker, Vin Diesel. No. It's not what we were used to.
It's like a prequel or something too, right?
I don't even know what we would classify it as.
Just sort of it's DC Elseworlds. It's like the Batman. It exists over there, away from everything else. Which nothing exists there now. I do have a question about this for you. Do you think that this is part of cinema's future? Do you think that treating movies like an event and encouraging moviegoers to do X, dress up like for the Barbie movie? Because I've been to a lot of opening nights for like Marvel movies, DC movies. I always love it because people are so hyped. My favorite one, nobody dressed up. It's a Marvel movie, but nobody dressed up. And it was the best experience ever because it was Valentine's Day and it was Deadpool. Everybody there was there for the same reason. They're in on the joke. They're ready for this. They know it's going to be ridiculous. And it was perfect. Great communal experience. I don't think anybody's going into Barbie thinking the same thing. I think most people are going into Barbie not knowing what to expect. I certainly don't, but I'm curious. I want to go see it. I don't want to dress up for it. However, we know that the movie theaters have struggled to get people to come out and go to the theater. That has been a thing. Do you think event theater going is the way of the future?
I don't know. No, not really. If that ends up becoming a thing, I would not be mad at it at all. Admittedly, I've not really dressed up for a movie ever, but totally not against it. I think we'll have films. I'm still going with no to your question, but I think we'll have films that definitely encourage that more, because I think they'll be able to see that when fans feel like they're a part of a community, that translates into dollars. I think Barbie's going to absolutely obliterate Oppenheimer this week, and I know as those who are listening and watching us right now, first, thank you so much. And two, you have this information available as we record. I don't know that we have solid numbers yet, Brad, but I think Barbie, the money they're going to make in large part is due to this communal experience. So I don't see this being a huge trend moving forward, but I do think that we'll have select films every year, maybe just a handful or less, that really capitalize on this. I don't see this being a way of the future in that, dozens of films can capitalize on it. I think there's only a select few that can really generate and utilize that momentum every year. How about you? You see it becoming a staple?
I'll answer that question in a second. According to Variety, article by Rebecca Rubin, it's box office. Barbie opens to record-setting 155 million.
It's a lot of millions.
So far, Oppenheimer, they're predicting 50 million, I believe. Wow. Oppenheimer shatters expectations with $80 million debut.
Okay, so everybody wins. Everyone eats.
Yes,
I'm not mad at that.
Oppenheimer is not going to be for everybody. That's not you're not going into that movie to have a good time. You're going into that movie to be engaged with excellent filmmaking and to have a story that we know is important, but we know it's not happy and light. Barbie's all of those things. It's a cinema experience. I'm looking at this picture now and going like, why have I not seen this already? Like this picture of the Barbie movie. It looks great. It looks right up my alley in terms of like theater production. And
great cast.
The cast is incredible. The production value looks really great. Like it looks like it's probably winning costumes and design and all of that stuff. Just everything sort of has the same pastel color, which is really, really cool. I've never seen anything like that. I can't believe I'm talking about Barbie right now. Oppenheimer also has that signature Christopher Nolan look to it, where everything is sort of that bluish gray and dark and gritty and grounded, and all of the effects are practical effects, including the depiction of atoms, which was done kind of like Kubrick's 2001 Space Odyssey, where it's just lights and dye in fluid. I can't wait to see this. I can't believe that movie has zero CGI in it. It's all practical effects when it's a movie about nukes. I really, it's about Oppenheimer. As far as event movie going goes, Barbie didn't encourage anybody to dress up, right? Like the movie just organically took on a life of its own, where people were like, the theaters are struggling, yada, yada. All right, Barbie and Oppenheimer are opening. Let's go. It's Barbenheimer. And I've seen the same person must have an automatic spam post tweet link thing under everybody's post about Barbie or Oppenheimer of the t-shirt, where it's like Barbie standing outside and looking at a nuke in the background going off, and it says Barbenheimer on the top.
I completely missed that. Okay.
Oh man, I've seen it so much.
Wow.
I'm this close from buying it too, because
that gives me kind of like pseudo Better Than You BayBay vibes.
Yes,
we got an unexpected collaboration that we probably should have saw coming, but it's also still feeling pretty fresh.
Yeah, I think it's great. I also saw people were like, I had to respond with it's Barbenheimer, not Oppenarby. You go in that order. You don't go see, people are like, I'm going to go see Oppenheimer and then go watch Barbie to like cleanse the palate. It's not going to work that way when you're emotionally drained. and you feel like the soul's been taken out of your body, because Oppenheimer is not going to be a good time. We know what this man did and the regret that he lived with the rest of his life. Like, he's responsible for killing thousands of people, irradiating an entire area of land, decimating Japan at a time where, we were at war and didn't know how to end it. But like, obliterating civilians was probably not on the bucket list there.
Yeah.
And then going to watch a Barbie movie after that seems pretty terrible. So if you are going to see it based on anecdotal evidence, I would suggest Barbie, then Oppenheimer. That's probably the order that I would do it if we're going to do it in a day, but it seems like I'm on my own with that train of thinking in this household.
Yeah, and apparently, where it is Barbie has a really deep meaning to it as well. Like you said, Brad, there's pastel colors, there's just great performers everywhere, but there's also it's very much a film that's made for, I think, adult audiences.
Yes.
When you
Yes.
hear Barbie, when you see the poster, maybe you think, okay, let me bring my 5 or 6 year old. But apparently, there's just real heart to the movie, and a very visible seriousness to it that apparently audiences are enjoying around the world. Cinema, it's a great time, man. Let's go. What a summer.
I definitely said, well, why don't we go see Barbie today? And Jess was like, yeah, it's not, we can't bring Freya to that. Knowing full well we brought her to the most recent Spider-Man movie, not the animated, the Tom Holland. What is it? No Way Home. And she was terrified during that movie of the Green Goblin. So I don't know that we did her.
I was scared too. Freya's not alone. The Green Goblin got me back in the day, and I was probably like 10 or 11. So.
Oh, for the original?
I think so. Yeah. Wasn't it James Franco Jones, right? Wasn't he
Willem Dafoe. James Franco was his kid, and then
yeah,
Green Goblin.
made my shoulder itch a little bit. I was a little uncomfortable when I saw that one.
Willem Dafoe was the perfect cast for that, and then they put a helmet on him.
Yeah.
Inexplicable. I'll never forgive Sam Raimi for that. Not ever. Not ever. Like, he had the perfect face for that. He's an incredible actor. Let's cover it up. Yeah. Makes no sense.
Questionable.
Yeah, they did that in the second Thor movie to Christopher. I can never say his last name. Eccleston, I think. He played the villain, but they put all this makeup on him and he couldn't act through it. So really, really stunk, because he's an amazing actor. Very intimidating opposing person, and they covered him in white paint. Unfortunate.
Very much so.
But what's not unfortunate is our conversation leading into wrestling, Tyler. We had a lot this week. I stayed up very late to get caught up last night. I missed a ton of stuff, and I'm likely forgetting things right now because my brain is just so crammed all at once with information. But I'm ready for your WWE question.
Yeah, let's roll into it. So much happened in WWE this week, Brad, as you so eloquently alluded to, really in all of wrestling, but I think we have a lot of options to kick off our discussion here. I saw that on the timeline, well, let me rephrase this. I saw on the timeline that Dominic Mysterio, Dirty Dom himself, is the first wrestler to main event Raw, SmackDown, and NXT in the same week. I don't want to hate on the guy. I sent you a text earlier this week about like, oh, well, congrats to the kid, forgetting that this man is 26 years old.
Yeah.
I think they've done a really smart job of presenting him as if he's like 19, which he is not. But huge week for the Mysterio family. I still think that record is pretty wild. He beat Wesley to become the new North American champ. Becky and Trish are definitely fighting again. I thought Charlotte and Io would have more in-ring chemistry.
Yeah. Disappointing.
Yeah, disappointing. And LA Knight somehow did not win another consequential multi-man match. Have a feeling, hopefully, we'll talk about that. Maybe that's where your question's going. Maybe it's not. But as is my MO on our show, I want to ask you about the finish of SmackDown. Main event Jey Uso and Roman Reigns made it official. We knew this was coming. They'll be main eventing SummerSlam.
Okay.
Here's my question. The last time we spoke about this match, I believe you predicted Roman to win. Does the SmackDown segment and the added stipulation of tribal combat make you feel more confident, less confident, or the same amount of confidence in your prediction that Roman is leaving the Motor City still our undisputed Universal Champion.
I never thought that. I thought it would be Jey.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I
Get
just
out
said
of here. You're going Jey.
I think it should be at this point. There's nobody left.
Will it be Jey?
Well, that's the problem. It's
That's
I think it's going to be Jey, and it's probably going to be Roman, because I also thought LA Knight was a slam dunk. What are we doing here? Why are all the bookers so opposed to giving fans what they want while they're white hot and just like pissing on the fire that they have? Don't cool off LA Knight. Like, if he keeps losing, eventually people are going to stop caring. And I know it's fake, and I know blah, 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 blah. If you have your white hot baby face constantly losing, then what are we doing here? Willow, probably a good candidate to win that ROH title. Get Athena back on the main roster. I would much prefer to see that, even though I love Willow over on Dynamite and stuff. I'm not gonna say right now that Willow is a better wrestler in ring than Athena. I think Athena is one of the best in the world, and she's on ROH behind a paywall. And not having Willow win the strap, not having LA Knight win anything. He's just constantly losing all of these multi-man matches all the time. Like, he's losing battle royals, the ladder match, this thing that was on SmackDown. So I know they're talking about heating him up for SummerSlam or whatever, but it's like, are we going to care by then? I hope so. I hope I'm wrong. Hopefully the promo work will bring everybody back, because he's awesome. And then I think Wade Keller came out and said something, is Wade or it was Bix, about his backstage politics and not being good at it. And he rubs people the wrong way. So if he doesn't get a push, that's likely what it is. I don't ever hear anything about Jey. I don't ever hear anything about Roman. They are so quiet on all of this. So quiet. I don't know what you do after this other than Cody. And they're leaning so hard into the hard time stuff that it makes me kind of not care. I think it's cool for people that don't know and that are going to go out of their way to figure out, what does he mean? Why did he wink at the camera when he said hard times this week, before being murdered by Brockzilla?
In front of his mama. That's
so
rough.
I have a question.
It's the Winchester pause for me. I love it. I know some good's coming. I'm ready.
I'll ask you in my question, since you asked my question.
Of course I did. The Cody doc, by the way, premiering on Peacock July 31st.
Can't wait.
Gonna be fire. I can't wait. That looks amazing.
Yeah. Wow, they're really pushing him on documentaries, but nowhere else.
Right.
So this Roman and Jey thing, it has to be Jey. It just has to be Jey, because I don't see any other path that personally I'm going to care about. I don't care about Cody right now. Like, I'm so sick of this Brock feud. People are like, oh, it's an epic feud lasting a year. No, it sucks. Have you seen the way that Brock has handled Cody? Like, handled him. Give me one reason I should believe that Cody can beat that man's ass. Just one. He had to do the roll up finish the first time, and then Brock squashed him.
Yeah. And
then just killed him again for fun.
Yeah, and when Cody got the pin at Backlash, he just tailed out of that ring so quickly. Yes. our conquering hero, leaving Puerto Rico as soon as he can, because Brock Lesnar is intimidating.
He needs to get beaten soundly and handedly while Brock laughs at him when he wins. I will believe nothing else, because nothing else makes sense.
Giving Brock Cena vibes from SummerSlam of yesteryear, when Brock just squashed him, and
I'd be fine with that, because that's the way they're presenting him right now. They're gonna have to like rehash what they already did, where Brock gets busted open in a turnbuckle or whatever, which I loved. I thought was great, but we've seen it. So what are you going to do that's different? So on one hand, I'm really curious to see how that plays out. On the other hand, I don't want to see this anymore, because it's not just. It's different, because people are like, the bad guys always going to get they beat the hell out of the babyface over and over and over and over again until the babyface gets the crowd behind him, and then they win. That's pro wrestling. That's the beauty of it. That's the storytelling element of it. I think I've even heard Jim Cornette say something similar about this, him of all people, where he's like, that's pro wrestling. Babyface gets killed all the time until he doesn't. That the crowd rallies behind them. The problem is that's almost always, not always, but almost always like a gang of people will jump the babyface and beat them up and cheat. And then the babyface loses because the heel manager gets involved, because of this happens, because of that happens. It's almost never just the dude is bigger and better than you. Brock's just bigger than better than Cody. He's hurting him by himself. He doesn't have to cheat to win. So why am I supposed to believe that Cody's going to be able to do it unless he has help? And then are we supposed to cheer for this man after that? So what are we going to do here? I guess I have questions about Cody's validity right now as a main event star, where he's not really doing any of it in the ring. And to a fault, it's the same thing that is happening with LA Knight. Like, you can't now put him in a US title match unless Theory calls him out, because he's lost everything that gives him a chance to get it. So what do you do with him? And Cody's just fighting Brock over and over and over again. And great. So he beats Brock. Then what? Does he fight Seth? Because that doesn't make sense. If he wants to finish his story. Okay. I'd like to finish this story.
No. You were cooking, man. Gotta let you cook. I don't think, if Cody and Seth face each other again, I believe Seth needs to win that match. Cody beat this man with one arm. Like, Seth should not lose to him in their next match. Two, my love for the LWO. Rey Mysterio is my favorite wrestler of all time. So him versus Santos is going to be
incredible. It's going to be incredible.
But to your point, I don't think we're revolutionary or, maybe, breaking new ground with saying this, but LA Knight losing at Money in the Bank. Okay, I can understand why that decision was made,
sure.
But him not winning this really fun 4-way on SmackDown is baffling. It leads me. It's such a miss that it leads me to think they must have something in the works.
Yes,
for this dude. I think he has to be on the SummerSlam card in some way. I know he obviously doesn't have the briefcase, so it's not like he's going to cash in. But if he's not on that card, what are we doing? And then third, I've really come around on the idea of Jey Uso, main event Jey, that is, winning at SummerSlam, Brad. I actually think SummerSlam is the time to make this happen and to have Jey win. I'm envisioning a Samoan spike from Solo to Roman, and then Jey capitalizes on that to win. I've been a big proponent of, let's have Cody win at the next Mania. If that's what it takes, Cody needs to be the guy to beat Roman. But like you said, Jey is just ultra, ultra hot right now. The entrance, the fan engagement. Now is the time. Jey Uso should leave SummerSlam with gold.
And he's really good in the ring. I think I haven't really seen a lot of LA Knight's work. He's competent in there. I think he looks like a 90s throwback to me. Like, his wrestling looks like late 90s WWF. And Jey Uso looks like right now. He's uber athletic. The Uso splash is one of the prettiest splashes in the world. Like the way his legs bend back and he just sort of.
Oh, yeah.
Arms,
great super kick. I love how the super kick only one took out Solo this week. And Solo was just presumably dead after one super kick. It was great.
Have you noticed the shoe shift? The colors shift? No. Yeah, he's been wearing white.
Oh, yeah.
No more red.
The white Uso shirts versus the Roman and Solo black shirts. There's a lot going on with the fashion game here.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of let's get rid of the red because I'm not in the bloodline anymore. So I really appreciated the little touches.
The real chief.
Yeah. Yes, that was so good. Yeah.
They've made so much money off of these shirts. Like, bravo to the marketing and the design team. We've had the Island of Relevancy, Day One-ish. I mean, they've been hidden.
The WWE is hotter than it's been in years. It's gaining traction. I think the viewership will end up picking up. I think they're doing almost everything right now, in my opinion. Not LA Knight, but everything else they're doing pretty well. On paper, that Charlotte Io match should have been like a match of the year contender, and it just was kind of a fine match. There were some spots that were just like, "Ooh, what happened there? Miscommunication or something." That, like, to your point, there just wasn't a lot of chemistry there, and they're two of the best talents in the world. And I don't understand. Yeah, and I don't understand why. The one thing that I took away that I did enjoy is anytime we get Bailey on commentary.
Yeah,
I love Bailey. So
I forget about her and Cole's long-standing feud.
yes, it's
Shut
like
up, Cole.
7 years now.
Going back to the pandemic, and
Yes,
for sure, Thunderdome.
it would be great if Sasha were on commentary as well.
Yeah.
We need that to happen again. At some point, I'd like to see her go back to the WWE, retire there, and go into the Hall of Fame because she deserves it. And that return pop, oh, good Lord. Someday it's going to happen.
It's got to happen. We got to get the AEW stint. We got to get the WWE return. Yeah, I would love to see her finish her career there.
Yeah, but we know that she loves Japanese wrestling. She's wanted to do this her whole life. So hopefully she heals up and gets to have a better run over in Stardom and in New Japan before coming back. But selfishly, I really want to see her and Jamie Hayter tear it up.
Please.
Yeah.
Main event of a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Forbidden Door 3.
Let's just make it its own pay-per-view. I'd watch that.
Yeah, we could have got that.
Iron Woman match between Mercedes Moné and Jamie Hayter. Sign me up.
Please.
Sign me up right now. A triple threat Iron Man match, you imagine?
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if they've ever done anything like that.
Yeah, wrestling is really cool. We need that.
Okay. My question is basically the same thing as yours. It's slightly different. I also asked a question that I answered myself about LA Knight. Does he get a push and when? And we kind of talked about it. It does seem like they're building something toward SummerSlam. I did write down Brockzilla, but we talked about that already, like just Brock murdering people. Okay, so my question is outcome. We talked about how it plays out. We think Jey wins, or if Roman retains. What happens afterward? What's the fallout from this match? So either way, Jey winning, Roman winning, what's next? And if Roman loses, does Paul Heyman stay the wise man?
I was thinking about Paul Heyman this week. I was watching SmackDown, watching
his hands shaking.
Yeah, and just how he commits, like when they were backstage or going through the arena, how he commits to just watching Roman. Like Paul doesn't look forward to where he's walking. He just watches his tribal chief. Like you brought up, Brad, and then how he clutches the belts. He's just such a paramount part of this act.
Yeah.
So what happens to Paul? I think Paul's last stint should be managing Braun Breaker. I'm going to stay on that fantasy booking. I mean, this is what's been on my mind is after SummerSlam, whether it breaks the way we wanted to with Jey victorious, or which could very likely happen, Roman wins again somehow by hook or by crook. What happens after that? If Jey wins, I think Roman could take time off and then return either at the Rumble or more likely at Mania. I don't know if we're getting Rock versus Roman, but I think that would be an awesome WrestleMania match and his first in-ring match, right? I would love for him to leave after SummerSlam and we don't see him for several months. However, if Roman wins, where do we go from there?
It's a long way to Mania if Cody's the play.
Yeah. I know the silence makes for great pod content.
Maybe Big E did heal. Maybe Big E comes back.
Yeah, but yes. And
Bray Wyatt?
I think I would be frustrated because I know they would not have Big E beat Roman.
No.
So I want good things for Big E. I don't want him to lose to Roman again. You brought up Bray Wyatt. It would be Cody, right? It would just be a lot of fodder for us to get to the same WrestleMania main event once again, this time in Philly instead of LA. Cody versus Roman. And probably Cody wins at that point, but LOL, who knows? Because all of us were worked into a shoot. Brad, do you remember us back in February and March of this year? We thought for sure Cody was going to win. He was going to finish his story. It was in LA, made all the sense, Homelander City, and it just didn't happen. So if Jey wins, don't see Roman until Rumble or Mania. my best case scenario, he faces The Rock at Mania for the head of the table match. But if Roman wins, yeah, like you said, we're definitely going to get some championship matches before Mania. But whether it's Big E or Bray or Otis, like we know Roman is going to beat these dudes.
Yeah, Gable.
And Gable would be super fun. Maybe we get a main event championship match on SmackDown to pop a rating. But I think it would just inevitably lead to Cody at Mania. At this point, I don't want that as much as I want Jey winning at SummerSlam, which is a change for me.
Yeah, I don't know who it would be. Here's how I think it plays out if Jey wins. I think Jey wins. We get the moment, everybody goes crazy, and then they kill it. They kill it dead. Right then and there, Damian Priest comes out.
Damian Priest. How did we not mention this guy? Senor Money in the Bank.
Yeah, so Roman just stands there and watches Jey get killed by Damian Priest. South of Heaven, pin 1, 2, 3, new champ, Damian Priest.
No, my heart is being ripped out right as I'm
and then Roman yelling, "See, I told you, you weren't ready. I'm the chief," and then leaving for a while the whole bloodline's completely imploded.
And Damian Priest having the biggest moment of his career.
Yes. And the fans leaving quiet and destitute and sad. I can absolutely see that happening because Jey's win is about the moment, about proving something to Roman, because his run is going to be real short. Because where do you go with Jey after that? Sammy? People aren't going to be up for that like they were before.
No. So, yeah, who is Jey's first challenger in that scenario? Yeah,
and I just don't think a challenger makes sense unless it's solo. That could be compelling, but I don't think it's selling pay-per-views. I think I think it has to be a cash-in Damian Priest. That's the next part of the story, because their story isn't interesting with the title. Their story is interesting between them and the tribal chief stuff. That's the stuff that's compelling. So maybe the Usos and the entire bloodline gets a break. And then, I don't know, the Usos come back to tag it up. And I don't know what happens, but I can see that happening absolutely at SummerSlam, because they all have carried the company for a while. And I could definitely see for like a month or two, somebody else rising to the occasion. Maybe they push LA Knight at that point. Maybe they do something else in there. I don't know what they do, but give the women more time. That would be nice.
Yeah.
But
yes to all this.
Even though Io and Charlotte got a ton of time on the show in the ring. Yeah. Wasn't the greatest match of all time, but I'm glad they got the time at the very least, because there needs to be more women on the screen wrestling.
And they're cooking up Shotzi as well. So we know we're going to get her versus Bayley.
That's going to be
a really meaningful match, probably on a future SmackDown. So hopefully there's some reason to be optimistic. I don't know about LA Knight, man. I feel like LA Knight is going to get his AARP card before this man gets a championship that he has earned. I'm not as optimistic there, but I sure hope you're right. And such an excellent point by you regarding what does this look like for Jey, right? I talked about Jey winning, but my mind went directly to what would that mean for Roman, not what would a Jey title reign or title run look like. And yeah, man, WWE's done a really good job at this. I have not even thought of Damian Priest, even though Judgment Day is all over our screens, most visible faction now on their TV. He's definitely right there with that Money in the Bank briefcase and could for sure cash in on Jey Uso.
So here's the thing. The LA Knight thing, it's because of his age, right? He's 41, I think.
Yeah.
So it's Finn Balor.
Yes.
Okay, so Edge is 49. Finn Balor's in a championship match against Seth Rollins.
Yeah, AJ Styles fought Seth Rollins.
I was going to say AJ Styles was 39 when he debuted in the WWE. So he is currently 46, but he's 39. I don't want to use the WWE as the only example. If you go to AEW, you have Chris Jericho in his late 40s winning the championship, the first championship in AEW.
Yeah. Dax is 39.
Dax is 39.
Tag wrestler currently.
Mox is up there, right?
Yeah. All these dudes like 35 and older for sure.
He is 37.
Yeah.
Roman's 38.
Kenny Omega's approaching 40, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're all in their late 30s. I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody being over 40. Not today. If this were
woman, absolutely.
Yeah, if this were like 30 years ago, 20, 25 years ago, if you were over 40 still wrestling, your knees are gone, your back is destroyed because there's no protections and doctors and all that stuff constantly on call and going like, yeah, do it this way. We just know more. People aren't taking as big risks, I don't think, at least on television and on pay-per-views. They're being much more safety minded and getting approval now, even in AEW, which did feel a little Wild Westy, which was sort of the appeal. Yeah, I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot there, man. I can't wait for SummerSlam. WWE is on such a roll. I admittedly, I don't always watch the weekly product on time. I DVR it and watch it later, but I still watch it, and I get excited about their PLEs, their next level, man. Like they're really putting on shows for us. They have done a really good job. Love them, hate them, whatever. It's so different than AEW that I kind of don't care. I'm getting two different versions of the thing I like, and I love it.
Yeah. And I love that for you, man. Well, I'm glad we spoke about LA Knight and the travesty that was him not winning. Again, I love Ray. That dude is my GOAT, but I really think it's LA Knight's time. Obviously that left us asking each other what happened here, which is really beneficial, Brad, because we happen to have a segment with that same name. And there was something that occurred this week. A song was sung, a video reached YouTube and reached my phone that led me to ask the question, what happened here? Play the music.
What happened here?
All right, Brad, I usually have notes going into these. My notes for this segment are absolutely blank. I am going off of sheer memory and emotion. We also spoke about this during the production meeting. So I share all that to say, here's what went on this week that led me to ask what happened here. Country singer, very famous guy, Jason Aldean, has a song and now a video titled "Try This in a Small Town." If you've not heard it or not watched it, I want to say check it out, even though it's not for good reasons, but you should, at least for the strength of this conversation. Brad, here's my question. Here's my feelings, maybe. I don't know if I have a question for you. I just want to tell you how I feel about it. There's been a lot of controversy because the song itself, but particularly the video, has some really polarizing images. So the gist of the song is that you big city folk, where you have your protests and your riots, if you come down to where I'm from, if you come to my small town here in Tennessee, that ain't gonna fly, because we would shoot you. We would kill you. Your wokeness is not allowed here. But it was interesting this week as I was monitoring the timeline, particularly on Facebook, actually, for this one. And I came across a few people in my life who, and in some cases, brown people, right? People of color, like our sisters here, who were sharing a Facebook post that said, "I stand with Jason Aldean." Red background, white font, multiple exclamation points. I know that word. And the page also had a former president as the profile picture with the really terrible hair and the finger pointing. You can maybe figure out who I'm talking about. And so my thought was like, man, I think there's context missing. The song, I would say, undeniably is catchy, right? Like, Jason Aldean's been around for a while. The dude has had hits, multiple of them. So he's talented at what he does. And I think this song is another example of that. It's catchy. But if you look at the context, if you watch the video and just like provide any level of thought to it, I think you would agree with me that the video is, and the song is, deeply problematic. So the video was shot at a famous spot in Tennessee, a government building, if I'm not mistaken, where people were lynched decades and decades ago. In the video, there's a USA flag prominently being flown there. There are news clips shown from the riots, or not the riots, but the protests of summer 2020. And I think this just like, folks weren't in the streets protesting just cause. Folks didn't run up to a Target and say, yeah, let's trash this place just because we don't like their clothing section here anymore. It's become trash. Like, people were killed and have been murdered for no good reason for decades and decades. And this was just a result of that, this being summer 2020. So to use that as imagery for a video to say that you city folks, if you try that here, it's not going to end up well for you. I struggled with that, Brad. For the people in my life who I hope not only love themselves and care about themselves and people who look like them and care about me, and care about the future of our country, but also like, man, if I know you enjoy basketball or I know you enjoy hip hop or other things, how can you have that Michael Jordan poster in your room, or how can you have a hip hop playlist that you post about on Instagram all the time, but then repost or retweet "I stand with Jason and Aldean"? Like the messages aren't aligning for me. I don't get it. And my final point, not to mention, if you do research on Jason Aldean, which I did do in preparation, I did prepare somewhat for this. He got in trouble years ago for dressing as Lil Wayne. So dude is totally put on the blackface. This dude was an anti-vaxxer. This dude supported a former president even after January 6th. Like, this guy is not the most upstanding individual. He might be a good singer, but I don't know if you want to stand with this dude. He seems like kind of garbage here. So this led me to think, what happened here, man? I think I've gone on for 5 minutes at this point. So this is borderline promo of the week territory. I want to hear your thoughts. You can tell me if I'm tripping, but I thought this was just a week that led me to have some questions about this video, man. I don't like it.
I think about it a lot with artists like this, that it's one of those things where you think, maybe if I act a certain way, I'll appeal to my base and then gather more support and then make it super duper popular because it's loaded with stuff. But I don't actually believe it. I just believe in getting more money. So I'm going to appeal to this. Or he does believe it, and he's just a simple motherfucker. Like, that could just be it. This guy just seems like smooth brain. I don't think he cared about the history of that building. I doubt it was intentional. He probably didn't put any thought into what that building may represent. He probably just went in front of it, and that was that. The other stuff, though, is try that in a small town. See what happens. Try what in a small town? You may as well say those people in your little song here.
I'm pulling up the lyrics. Yep, continue. You're spot on.
I'm with you. Like, if you want to support presidents with bad hair, if you'd like to do that, it's America. You have every right to do that. I think you're garbage after what happened on January 6th, what he said on January 6th. And every time the dude backtracked and said something that was like productive, like, hey, no, I get the vaccine. I got the vaccine. Everybody go get vaccinated. And then your own base boos you for it. You understand what you've created here by just simply being somebody that's in it for yourself. I can't support somebody like that when it's supposed to represent the entire culture. And then people will come back with Biden's there. It's like, well, Biden's Biden. It's vanilla ice cream of presidents. Like, it is what it is. Can't fix it. It's different to go like, that person's my president. I acknowledge that. And I understand, but it's become sort of culty, and the rhetoric around it has been culty. And when you get called out for it, for being a douchebag, people go, oh, it's woke cancel culture. And it's like, no, you're an asshole. Like, people were murdered. People were murdered at that spot. And then you have video footage. Okay. Black bodies were hanging from that spot. And then you show a protest as though it's a bad thing because people are sick of seeing black bodies.
Talk to him, Brad. Talk to him, B.
And then you're going to make a music video about it. Like, yeah, try that here. It's like, it kind of sounds like it already happened there, dumbass. Maybe take a peek into the history of your little backdrop. You're doing it as a performative thing. And it's like, people literally are dead because of your place, because of that space, because of those ways of thinking. And I know people are going to come at me for if they hear this, for going like, oh, well, I don't see color. One of those people. That's the appropriate use of those people, by the way. Just wanted to throw that out there too. I don't understand that way of thinking. It's like, you can't put yourself into their shoes. It's not possible to do that. Your experience is your experience. Here's how you do that. You listen to them. They're in their shoes. The end.
Period.
I don't know what anybody else has experienced. My wife's life is her life, her experience. I don't know what it's like to live as a woman in this country. I have no idea. I am not one. I am not a person of color. I don't understand that experience. And to go, no, in small towns, we're all like this. No, get out of here with that. Also, you grew up in a city, so shut the up.
Yeah, right. Nashville. So if I'm Jason Aldean, and he did put out a statement and spoke about this, I think on his Instagram. And your whole point of this, you say your whole point of this song and video was to unite people and cause less division. It's like, homeboy, I don't know if, like you said, you are either you really believe what you're selling or you don't, but you know that causing division creates more money, right? This song is one of the most streamed songs in the country right now. It's
controversy creates cash.
Yes. We've never talked about Jason Aldean before this, right? Like, we're a wrestling-based, pop culture-based podcast, but here we are 10 minutes into Aldean. So I think it's much more insidious. Like a lot of these fools, they know what they're doing. I have two final points here. Thank you for sharing your perspective on it. Beautifully said. So it was in the location for this video was the Maury County Courthouse in Columbia, Tennessee. So this dude cites Nashville as his home. There are other small towns he could have filmed this at that are closer to Nashville, but he specifically made a choice to go to Columbia to choose the Heritage Building there, where there's a history of lynching Black men. As you pointed out, Brad, some of the lyrics of this song, in case you haven't heard it, it starts with sucker punch somebody on a sidewalk, carjack an old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool? Well, act a fool if you like. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag, and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough? Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it. He says, Explicit Jones here. He says, well, that shit might fly in the city. Good luck. And then he says, peep this, Brad. He says, try that in a small town, full of good old boys raised up right. No. So if you're in my life, and
boys,
and you heard that lyric in particular, and you still want to repost the I Stand With Him, I just got questions, man. Like that's probably the most flagrant example. I promise I'm almost done here with my soliloquy. That's probably the most flagrant example to me is he mentions good old boys, and then he says, he puts somewhere here, what does it say? Oh yeah. It's a little polarizing. Got a gun that my granddad gave me. They say one day they're going to round up. Well, that might fly in the city. Good luck. So it's very much the Second Amendment rights, good old boys. We were raised right. Like, the language is so loaded, and we just know what this is code for. So I watched the video at least twice. I heard the song, obviously looked at the lyrics closely, and I'm still thinking to myself, what happened here, Brad? Morgan Wallen, biggest country star in the world, was also in Phoenix this past week. Man had 2 sold-out shows at Chase Field where the Diamondbacks play. So I know Morgan is a whole separate case, right? But and perhaps not as egregious as this. I don't know. It's up to you. But I'm struggling with the idea that, man, these are 2 of the biggest names in country, and some of these controversies don't lead the fan base to step back. It actually increases their popularity. It did for Morgan Wallen when he was away for months. People streamed his music more than ever, or found ways to support him more than ever. And for Jason Aldean, there's a lot of folks, including my Facebook friends and others, who are supporting this guy. And I just think we deserve better. And I think if the goal is to unite people, this is doing the exact opposite, but it also happens to be lining Jason Aldean's pockets, which he is clearly aware of.
Yeah, it's tough. We've talked at length many times on this podcast about separating the art from the artist and trying to look at it objectively. But at this point, it's like when the art is this loaded, it doesn't feel like art anymore. It feels like propaganda. And that's not, I don't know. I don't know that. Where is the cry of keep your politics out of it? I just want to listen to your music when it comes to something like this. This never happens unless it's about wokeism or about libtards or about whatever else people want to say. It's always keep your politics out of it when it comes to people being liberal. But when Jason Aldean goes to a courthouse known for lynching and says stuff like good old boys and does all this other stuff and then just goes like, well, I just love small towns. I just
much better Aldean impression than me. Yeah.
Just no, you don't. You love white small towns with white people in them,
living happy white families, and all the imagery is there in the video.
Yeah, and that's fine if you're white and you're happy. It's not a crime. It's not that big of a deal, and I totally understand you speak your experience. It's not that big of a deal. I grew up in a small town, and let me tell you, white. Very white, a lot of white families, and that's fine. It is what it is. Like, what are you going to do? Just like force people to move there to diversify? That's not the way that works. So I understand speaking your experience, but you can also have a broader perspective and realize that imagine what would happen if you could increase your fan base by not being a dickhead. I don't know. Seems like good business sense to me.
It seems like very good business sense. I don't know if I told you this. I was dating this woman a few years back. She's white, she's a great person. And I think maybe it was our like second week dating, and she dropped the "I don't see color" line. And I think I saw like a thought bubble or cloud, like of me looking down on me saying, "Get out if you can," and B, this is not going to work. Like, think of your exit strategy. And I certainly, like, again, we're talking about, mistakes and righting wrongs. And I certainly have my list that I need to work on still. But in that moment, I was like, oh, I think, to your point, Brad, we just have two different life experiences. And I just think we're not aligned in terms of just how we view this conversation. And when someone tells me via text, in person, relationship, friend, supervisor, I don't see color, like, nah, I don't, in 2023, I don't think that's the vibe we're on. I think it's important that you see that because you want to honor people's experiences and learn about people's experience. I want to learn about people's experiences. I just, when you brought that up, I just thought back to like circa 2018 in that relationship. And then what do you know? Less than a week later, we split. And I think both parties were happier for it. I think both parties were better off. The I don't see color thing just is an absolute relic of a statement. We can't operate that way anymore.
I understand the sentiment behind it. I understand people.
Totally.
I'm just
totally.
I am unaffected by a person's appearance is really what you're saying there. Or I don't judge people based on how they look is fine. That's great. But you also can't ignore that person. Not being judgmental is one thing, and then just ignoring a facet of their life is an entirely other thing. And that's what that sentiment seems to project. And you can correct me if I'm wrong there, because you know better than I do. There's no easy transition 20 minutes deep into what happened here.
Record setting.
It certainly is. I don't even know if I'm going to play music for this. I might just immediately decrescendo and get into it and find all the beeps I got to put in. We are into AEW question land. There ain't no way we're making it under an hour for this podcast, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm ready for your question. Hit me with it.
I completely agree. So AEW talk. The Golden Elite prevailed over Blackpool Combat Club. Taya Valkyrie gained some momentum, which makes me really happy. I think she's probably losing to Britt Baker, but we'll see. Ricky Starks is absolutely a heel now. I can't wait for your thoughts on Collision. And Daddy Ass may have wrestled his last match.
Yeah.
Inserting a few question marks there. But Brad, I think you know where I'm going. Better Than You BayBay MJF and Adam
Yeah.
Cole are challenging a tag team you are very fond of. Dare I say your favorite team on the planet, FTR, Dax and Cash, this Saturday for the tag team championship after overcoming Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia's hips. My question for you: what's your best case scenario for how the main event of Collision plays out?
Well, there's a couple of things. I don't know. FTR seems to be leaning into shades of gray. They're put in a no-win situation here where they're facing a super overact where the biggest heel in the company is in it as a babyface right now, but we know it's not going to last after the end of that where Adam Cole touched the belt and MJF freaked out. But FTR that felt like a shoot. I don't know how you felt, but when they were leaving, it was like, we're the champs, Tony. You play our music.
Play our music. Dax said it. Yeah. He was shooting for sure.
Yeah. I was like, damn.
100%.
Yeah, because they played the remix instead, which I understand why they would do that. The match just finished. They should be playing that song, but they didn't play it after the match. I don't think they should have played it after the match and then had it interrupted by the FTR music instead of just the celebration and then FTR's music. That being said, I think that match is gonna be a ton of fun. Clearly, they're leaning toward MJF and Adam Cole breaking up here. I don't think they should break up yet, but given what's happened with Cody, with LA Knight, with Willow, they're breaking up for sure. And because nobody seems to want to go with what's white hot. That shirt has sold more t-shirts than any shirt this year, according to, I believe, Meltzer. That continue that. It's printing money right now. You should keep it going. The skits have been amazing. The dance off was ridiculous. It was sports entertainment fun. It was perfect. It's not something I think I've ever seen before, outside of like Too Cool. I just
Scotty Too Hottie and
yes.
Grandmaster Cool.
Yeah, and with Rikishi, of course. Can't forget,
of course,
another member of the Bloodline. I loved it. I think they're breaking up. I'm not ready for FTR's run to end as tag champs, simply because they've only done like one thing since becoming tag champs. They had the Bullet Club Gold feud where they basically won one of their matches, one of their events. Ultimately, I think they evened up because they lost the first two, I think, or in matches with them anyway, because of the three-way, and then the Eliminator, and then they did the 2 out of 3 falls. So if you count all those together, I think they're 3-3. I think that's how that went. I can't remember. Anyway, that's all they've done. This run has not been great because that's all they've done, but what they've done has been great. So all of those things are true. Their matches have been awesome, but they haven't had very many. So do you want to have them drop to a not tag team with Adam Cole and MJF? And if that happens, that's fine. They drop, they win. Adam Cole, MJF. What's MJF doing with the belt? Exactly. We have a champion that's not defending right now.
And you have 2 huge shows within the next month.
Yeah,
within a week of each other, by the way.
Change. So they put themselves in a position where they almost have to break up. Yeah. And that sucks because those two should not be breaking up. I could see him losing and then MJF having to go into singles run and then them staying friends and Adam Cole saying, like, if you need me, I got your back. If you need to tag partner again in the future or something. And then they leave it at that. Because, we had the Rock and Sock connection only lasted like a month. I think it was 5 weeks or something. And we still talk about it today. And they've gotten back together on occasion over the years. They had their reunion several years later. And this is not obviously to that level. We're not getting a Rock, This Is Your Life out of these two. But what they've done has been great. I'm not ready to see them split. I think the split happens. I think they lose. FTR retains, which will be great. And then I don't know who FTR faces after that. But I think that's the outcome. What do you think?
Yeah, man. First, let me say I am so excited for this match. Collision has been a blast so far. We're 3 or 4 episodes into it already.
Yeah.
And it's added 2 hours of required wrestling content.
The intro is my favorite part. You hear that like dun, 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 underneath everything while they're talking. It's so good.
Yes, I love the intro. I love the talent that's been featured. I do need the commentary team to study how to pronounce Andrade
Oh
El
my
Idolo's
gosh.
name. So Nigel's been pretty consistently good.
Andrade El Idolo.
But
like a candy bar.
Shout out. Absolutely. That's yes. But shout out Kevin Kelly and Ian Riccaboni. They're both great at what they do. Just, obviously early Collision, that's been a consistent struggle for them. Really enjoy Collision. This is going to be, arguably the biggest main event in that show's early history. And CM Punk isn't even involved in this, which is wild. Yeah, I agree with you. I would want to ride the Better Than You BayBay wave because I think whatever their best case scenario was for this, Brad, whatever TK thought would be the best outcome, this has to have exceeded it. I mean, of course, you have two stellar guys as a part of this team, but the t-shirt sales, I'm sure the YouTube views, it's the skits, as you said, in the restaurant, at the gym, it's been absolutely tremendous. I think the issue here, though, and why I believe FTR is going to win, and Adam Cole or MJF will turn on each other, is because of All Out and All In. You have these two enormous shows coming up. And if MJF and Adam Cole enter as tag team champs, I don't know, is MJF potentially working double duty? He'll have a tag match and then he'll also defend that belt. Maybe, but I just don't see a world in which that is going to happen. So I think for sure one of them turns on each other. It's my borderline hot take status. I would like to see Adam Cole turn on MJF. I really am now yearning for a babyface MJF. I mean, the dude is so likable, Brad. I want to hear your thoughts given your theater background. I know we've spoken about MJF on occasion as an actor before, but I just marvel at what this dude can do. He's so charismatic. He's so believable that even though we know he's a devil, he's still calling us devil worshippers.
Yes, he gets it.
He's so endearing.
Yeah.
That you can't help but cheer for him. Even though we know we're probably going to boo him out of the building in a week, we still want to love him so bad. So I marvel at him. I'm so happy that Adam Cole is now rejuvenated in AEW, but I think FTR is retaining and we're going to see Cole and MJF split up after this weekend.
I feel like the likely scenario out of this is either heel Adam Cole or it's probably going to be MJF turning on Adam Cole. That's probably what's going to happen. Only because Adam Cole is such a big babyface right now. I would love to see babyface MJF. I don't know if it happens, only because of all the Roddy stuff backstage.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yep.
I think Roddy might be one of MJF's next opponents, and that match will be incredible. Roddy's going to lose for sure, but it'll be an incredible match. Definitely. So I think that's the angle there is like MJF starts beating the shit out of Adam Cole, and Cole feels betrayed and sad, and Roddy comes out to his rescue. And then we ended up with a one-on-one with Roddy versus MJF.
Yeah, great point, Brad, about Roddy. He's, they've presented him in a way where he's going to be really consequential to whatever happens. He's rocking the neck brace. They had him backstage. He's looking kind of sideways at Cole. Like, you're really going to trust this dude? We've seen time and time again that he's not trustworthy. So yeah, I think Roddy's going to play a role here. I could definitely see MJF versus Roddy in a future, say, Dynamite episode, but they've really just struck gold with these two. It's been incredible to watch. And I think whenever the rematch is going to happen, again, likely at All In or All Out between Cole and MJF, I do think the match is going to mean a lot more now, rather than just a simple rematch from their first banger. We're now emotionally invested in these two, and I think it's just going to make for a great pay-per-view main event, whichever show it ends up being at. And I think Punk versus MJF is clearly going to be. I think it's Cole versus MJF at All In, if I'm getting my dates correctly, and then Punk versus MJF at All Out. I think All Out's the week after All In.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah,
I think that's where we're going with this, though, based on Dynamite and Collision this week.
Yeah, All Out is second. I was trying to, I can't find it, but
it's in Chicago, right? Of course, that's going to be with Punk main events. Period.
It has been about 1 year, and there's been some issues with healing. But Kyle O'Reilly has also been gone and recovering from surgery, so. Depending on how he's doing right now, there's a possibility that Kyle O'Reilly gets involved too and reunites with Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. So we'll see. That would rule, because Roddy is an upgrade from Bobby Fish. No disrespect, but when you survive the Civil War and are still wrestling, we need Roddy in there. So I can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Hopeful. So my question, I had a few, like you, I really want to talk about Billy. Kip Sop might have retired. I saw stuff online, and maybe it was just people trying not to break kayfabe. His kids even tweeted, "We're not on great terms right now." I think it was Austin. I know we're not on great terms, but we love you and that kind of stuff. So it makes me think, oh, maybe this was real. They did give him enough time to take off 150 bootlaces. So
I had no idea there were that many laces on wrestling boots. That was nuts. He was there forever.
Yeah, he was there for a good 5 minutes, just unlacing why Bowens had to act. So it was, and Max was still selling on the outside. I was like, oh man, you're fine now. Just kind of do this a little bit and just call it a day.
Great, Buddy Matthews B trigger, by the way, to open that match. That's how I want to start my week. Like, I'm just entering Monday like Buddy Matthews, just tearing apart Max's face.
Just killed him. That was so perfect. I'm glad they addressed it, because of all the stuff happening online.
Yes,
Buddy, you're looking kind of nervous, and then pow. That was amazing. But I'm going to ask you about something a little bit different, involving Ring of Honor and the talent in AEW that are also on Ring of Honor. We had a big pay-per-view this week. We had Aussie Open is the new Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship team. Willow Nightingale and Athena wrestled in the main event. However, I want to talk about the build to it. We know we no longer have AEW Dark or AEW Dark Elevation. Has ROH become AEW Dark?
Yeah, I think it has. I've not watched one episode of ROH since they moved to Honor Club, as sad as that is to say. From what I've seen and heard and consumed, though, it seems like ROH is kind of falling into the trope of some of what we've seen in AEW, in terms of, we know the pay-per-views are going to deliver, but the storylines to get us there, much like we've seen on main product AEW, the storylines just seem like they're consistently lacking in a really, really flagrant way. Again, when we get to the show, it's probably going to be amazing, but the storylines that get us there, and we've seen this in WWE sometimes too, have just not been very worthwhile. So yeah, man, I do think it's become the new dark, unfortunately. Apparently, I didn't see Death Before Dishonor, Brad, but apparently it was really good. Obviously, you pointed out the main event, the first time two Black women have main events at ROH pay-per-view. I just wish TK and company would have advertised the show that way, because they probably would have received my $40 pre-tax. If you would have told me for sure, Athena and Willow main event, let's do this thing, I think I would have been really tempted to give them $40 that I probably don't have. But I think it has become dark, in terms of, my understanding is the weekly product hasn't been amazing. Even though you have such a really rich talent pool that could be just really awesome on that product, I do think it's showing some of those AEW dark signs, which is kind of troubling.
So I agree with everything you said. I have a question. Is Willow Nightingale like the first women's wrestler, at the very least, to main event Rampage, Dynamite? I don't know about Collision. I can't remember. But also New Japan and ROH?
Has to be.
I can't think of anybody else. Maybe. No. That, I mean, I'm sure Sheeta has. I don't know. Sheeta and Riho.
Good call. Yeah, good call.
Maybe even actually Jamie Hayter, maybe Tony Storm. So I take that back. I don't know who the first is, but it feels significant. Certainly the first Black wrestler to do all of those things, I think, right? At least women's. I don't know about men's, because Leo Rush was a thing for a while. So
yeah. And now he's X Division champion Impact.
Yeah.
I knew that dude was never ratiring. He's so good. He loves wrestling.
His run in New Japan was incredible, and now he's in Impact. I don't know what's happening with that.
I want to continue to make this about the women, because they deserve it. Leo versus Darby Allin is a match that we were deprived of. We never saw it in AEW. If Leo makes his way back at some point, Brad, of course we want the like Dante Martin and top flight stuff. But could you imagine your eyeballs trying to follow a Leo Rush, Darby Allin match on Dynamite? That would just be, I need it.
Yeah. I mean,
It's really good.
It would
really
be
fast.
Really, really fast.
Maybe Bobby Lashley recruits him to his stable he's building.
I mean, if you put Leo in the ring with somebody like that, Action Andretti's there.
Action Andretti's been killing it.
Martin would
be really enjoy them. Yep.
I mean, I let's see. Hopefully, he heals up. But there's a lot of people that could go speed for speed. Yeah. Ray Phoenix. I mean,
yes, of course.
Lord.
I've also enjoyed Darius Martin's work recently.
Darius has been great.
Action.
Yeah, he's really great.
They've had some fun matches, especially this past weekend.
There's so many like Bandito.
Oh my gosh.
There's Commander. There's so many people that could be like incredible with Leo.
There's a dude named Gravity who's fighting Pat on Wednesday, who apparently is also really good.
That sounds great. So that brings us to what did we miss, Tyler?
Yeah, absolutely, Brad. So what did we miss this week? First,
if we got to do something first, don't we?
We absolutely do.
We're an hour 11 deep. What the hell? Let's keep going.
Let's okay. So we missed some things for the week, but
we'll get to that later.
The most I think the most flagrant thing we missed though is the seg, our Bachelorette recap. You know what time it is, Brad. Let's go to a rose from Tyler, a rose from me. Let's hit the music.
And now, for a rose from GI's most eligible bachelor.
I thought you were doing it just to pop me, and if so, great success, my man. So this is a rare occasion where I use the notes app on my phone here. So the Bachelorette. I first want to tell you, Braden is gone. I gave you the scoop on him last week. He, of course, as we always see on The Bachelor and Bachelorette, Brad, there's a heel that's built early on, and then the heel gets eliminated, usually by the midway point of the season. So Braden was that guy, the 24-year-old traveling nurse, so he says, from San Diego. He got the boot this past week. It was pretty epic, but that was really the main takeaway. What I do want to tell you is that there are 6 men left, so this season has just progressed at a rapid rate, unlike anything us in Batch Nation have seen for quite some time. We're Batch Nation. Let's go. We're on. We just finished episode 4, and there are only 9 in Charity Lawson season, so we're about halfway there. I just got a notification on my phone that Twitter will officially rebrand as X later today. Did you hear about that?
I saw something about it, but I didn't see that it was Twitter rebranding.
We will have to discuss that at some point.
X?
It's going to be X, apparently. Okay, Elon. What I wanted to tell you here, though, Brad, is the guys in Charity are going to be in New Orleans this week, and then we're going to have the Hometowns episode, and then we're going to be in Fiji at some point. So this season is moving. They are grooving, and 6 dudes left, man. So I will keep you posted on how that progresses. What I want to end with here is the biggest news in Batch Nation from this past week. You may have seen this. I may have sent you information about this. Maybe. It was announced that Jerry, a 71-year-old man from Indiana, has been selected as the inaugural Golden Bachelor. So the Golden Bachelor will premiere this fall. I don't really know how to feel about it. I'm just going to embrace it. I'm going to check it out. Yeah. Good for Jerry doing this thing. He was married for many, many years. His wife sadly passed away a few years back, and he was encouraged by friends and family to apply for this, and now he's been selected. My question, though, for you, Brad, and I know we'll try to do this in expedited fashion. I was thinking of Jerry. I watched his interview on, I think it was Good Morning America this week. Seems like a decent dude. And it made me think of the elders in our life. So I want to know, who's an OG where you look at them and you see how impactful they've been to your life, personally, professionally, both, and you look and say, man, I don't know if I would be where I'm at today without them. This could be a teacher, this could be a mentor, this could be really anybody, man, a family member. But who's that OG? Who's that elder? Much like Jerry, all 71 years young, where you look and say, man, I don't know if I would be where I'm at today without their guidance, their wisdom, their love?
I don't have a particular person. I don't think I can narrow it down. Obviously, I have my parents. I have Jess's parents and her step parents. I think her mom, outside of my parents, who have had the biggest influence on me, and obviously I wouldn't be here at all without them. They're probably the biggest one. So I want to exclude them from this conversation because I think I want to say it goes without saying, but I know that there are a lot of people that are not fortunate enough to have great parents. I do. Doug Fix is the reason that I became a teacher. Sadly he passed right before I started teaching. I think I've told you this story before.
You have, yeah.
And
he was beloved.
Yes. And I'm going to go work on this one. And I got to share some love from Mr. Steven Davis. Steve Davis is we have about the same amount of teaching experience. He's just been alive a little longer than I have and has a lot more life experience than I do. But he has been sort of my Marana High School ride or die for almost 17 years now. And when I first started there, I talked to him in the department. There weren't a lot of men in the department that were at least talking to each other. And in general, I think it was me, him, and Pete Sense. I don't know if there were any other men in that department. And then, I was on the other side of the world on that campus trying to survive. And I had a lot of people trying to support me, but not really knowing how to support themselves. So it's the whole thing. It was a bad time, dark years. And then I got moved into J2. Steve has been in J1 for the entirety of my career. So I went to J2. I was right next door to him and he helped me a ton. And then I moved and I came back. And then I came back and I was in J21, your old stomping grounds. And
J21,
my goodness, connected with Steve, and he's just sort of always been there to help me with like, hey, try this, try doing that. No, this is what we've done. This is what we do. And he reminds me that teaching isn't the most important thing in the world, that your family is more important, that your time is more important. Even though what we do is unbelievably important. In my opinion, it's the most important profession. But outside of doctors and life-saving medical emergency folks, none of those things exist without teachers. But it's a chicken or an egg thing. But it's up there as one of the most important professions, and in my opinion, the most important. And he's helped me navigate a lot of that. So I'm going to go ahead and say that it's Steve. He is married. He will not be a Golden Bachelor this season.
I wonder if I could get him to tune in. What do you think? I think he pretty much despises shows like.
I can see him going like, yeah, I don't think so, and that's it. And that'll be the end of it. He'll just,
yes.
Yeah, I don't think so, and that'll be
yes. I love your selection. Even though he's not going to join me for Golden Bachelor talk, I echo everything you said about Steve. And you've known him longer for me, so I'm sure it resonates even deeper with you. Yeah, that absolute OG. Love Steve Davis, Mr. Davis.
Yes, Mr. Davis. Yeah, he's the best.
I
can't say enough about that.
Absolutely. So what did we miss from the week, Brad? I think it's time.
Man, we've had now we can get to it.
Now we can get to it
at $1.20. This is like the old days here.
This is like retro.
Yeah, we've been keeping it $1 for a while, and now
Vintage
it's
GI.
Yeah.
It was the Jason Aldean, man. He made us.
Aldean, yeah.
We had to go 20 minutes on that.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. Gonna be going about 30 minutes trying to find all the beeps. So a couple things we talked about. We alluded to the badass, Mr. Ass, Daddy Ass, Billy Gunn of the Smoking Guns. Kip Sop walking away potentially, but it kind of feels storyliney. The way that he reacted, he shoved the Acclaimed out of the way to leave, and they're acting it up. So he may legitimately be retiring from in-ring competition, but it's another case where I feel like they need to ride that trio, even if he's just the manager. They need to ride that for a little longer and milk the "Oh Scissor Me Daddy" stuff for as long as humanly possible, because that's still probably one of their best selling acts, especially in arena. I can't imagine that anything's selling better than those shirts. Malachi Black shaved. He's Malachi beardless.
You noticed that too, right? I knew something was different.
Yeah, Malachi Black shaved off the facial hair.
It
was staggering to me. I couldn't figure it out, and I was like, wait a second, who's this guy? I could see where his lips should be, but there isn't one because his hair is gone, and man doesn't have any lips. But he was he said some stuff to Billy and then acknowledged him on the way out. So either that was a subtle, I'm recruiting him to House of Black, which makes zero sense, or he really is stepping away. Hopefully everything's okay. Hopefully there's no medical issues or anything. And then the one thing we did not talk about and probably don't have time to talk about because we've taken longer or close to as long, I guess I should say, as Ricky's pyro. Ricky had pyro for days to the point where Ian was laughing on commentary about how ridiculous it was. It was maybe the longest pyro I've ever seen in my entire life for an entrance. Absolutely incredible. Made me laugh. My final thoughts are I can't remember anything from WWE because I watched it all so quickly that I know there's stuff in there that I wanted to talk about, but I didn't write it down in time enough to do so.
Yeah, that's real. No, man, what you said about Ricky is hilarious and accurate. If you didn't know that he is tight with Cody Rhodes, I think the entrance, the pyro was all the indication you need that
yes.
Cody is a friend and likely a muse for him. I just have two notes. So first, big Netflix recommendation. There's a new movie on there. I think it's number 1 actually on the app right now, at least in the US. It's called They Cloned Tyrone. I believe we're going to talk more about this next week. So perhaps it's a little bit of a teaser, but it's starring Jamie Foxx, John Boyega, and a bunch of really, really talented actors and actresses. It's kind of sci-fi meets comedy meets suspense. I cannot wait to discuss with you further, Brad. And the Great American Bash is this Sunday, I believe. As I'm saying that out loud, I'm questioning myself. It's this Sunday. It's a premium live event. I believe it's going to be from Texas. Of course, Ilya Dragunov versus Carmelo Hayes is headlining, but we're also going to get Tiffany Stratton and, oh my gosh, from Chase U. I'm forgetting her name now. Oh, no, this is my nightmare. I'm going to look it up, but Tiffany Stratton versus somebody. This has to happen, Brad. Man, hold on.
I can't help you. I have no
idea. I know you can. This is my nightmare. I know that I'm your NXT source. I've actually been following up with it lately, which makes me feel good. Okay, here we go. Of course, with Thea Hale, Tiffany Stratton, Thea Hale, but there's also the D'Angelo family versus Gallus, Blair Davenport versus Roxanne Perez, who I thought would be closer to a SummerSlam card by now, but really happy for her. And then currently it's listed as Dominic Mysterio versus Mustafa Ali for the North American Championship. So I think their PLEs usually deliver. Hopefully this one will be no exception. But yeah, man, lots to dive into for the week ahead. The wrestling content, the pop culture content. I think it's going to be another good one. And obviously we'll run it back and have another special episode next week. Maybe 90 minutes, maybe 60, maybe 2 hours, Brad. Who knows? That's why you got to tune in every week.
Let's just keep going. We won't end this one at all. This will be Oppenheimer length, and it will leave everybody feeling the same way probably by the end of it.
Probably. Well, if you made it this far, thank you so much for being here. It means the world to us, truly. If you haven't already, you can find us on Twitter. Brad is at WindDuster. I can be found at Tyler J. McDowell. Of course, you can find us together at GIPod19. Check out the site. We work really hard. We, namely Brad, to upkeep it and make it look as amazing as it does. You can find us there at gimmickinfringementpod.com. Articles, links, everything GI that you need is there. Once again, we appreciate you, and we hope you'll join us again for the next edition of GI. Gimmick Infringement is a part of 19 Media Group. You can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube via the 19 Media Group channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.